All right, we are live. Welcome back to another student interview. Today I have Alex. I'm going to not even attempt to pronounce your first and last name because you know I'll screw it up every time. So I just call you Alex, but welcome to this video, and I want to thank you for doing this with me today.
Perfect. Hey, thank you, Brandon, for having me here. So yeah, I started going by Alex just because of the issue that you had yourself, which is an issue that everybody sort of has here. Just English is Spanish is not their first language, obviously. So
that's right.
I just started to go by Alex, and it has worked wonders.
I love it. I love it. Well, man, I'm excited to dive deep into your business. Certainly, the feedback that people give us all the time, Alex, from watching these interviews, they really get a lot out of it. And so what I want to do today is tell your story of your real estate sales business from when before we were working together till now after we've been working together and some of the changes. So let me just start off with, how long have you been selling real estate and what market are you in?
So I am in Miami. So I work in Miami and Broward. I'm in a really strategic point where I'm between two counties, which is Broward and Miami, which is great. I myself have been in the real estate for 4 years and a half. I started off with investors, working directly with investors, and that was really easy. It was just one client basically, and I bought and sold for them. So it was a piece of cake. Then, like the amount of properties that we were buying were not as much. So I decided to transition into working with the retail client. And that's basically, I was really lucky because I found your program really early on. However, I didn't jump right into the coaching. I just did the videos.
Got it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. How long ago did you transfer from working with investors to your standard retail sales?
A year and 7 months.
Okay, got it. So it's been a year and 7 months. Yes. Now, how long were you working on retail before you and I started working together? Because what you're saying is you started off with my online training video before you got into coaching with me. But how long were you selling by yourself before we started working together?
I was selling for three months, or trying to sell, to get listings for 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So tell me, what was that like? So before you found me, and we'll talk about that in a second, what were you doing to try and go out there and build a listing agent business?
Well, you know what? It was really interesting because I was sort of doing the prospecting in itself. I worked in high school as a telemarketer for like a year and a half. So I'm very confident, and I'm really relaxed when it comes to making calls.
Good.
I didn't have any issue with that whatsoever. So I was just making the calls, but I didn't have a system of the follow-up and how persistent you need to be, and who the lead is, the one that you really want to be pursuing.
That's right.
Because at the end, not every lead is you want to be pursuing every lead.
That's right.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Well, I was going to say, so before you and I started working together, you didn't have what you told me is you didn't have a system and a process and maybe the approach. One thing that you and I remember when we first started working together was the different sales skills that you learned, right? And so we call it reverse selling. So first 3 months, you were using sales skills, strategies, scripts from maybe older school methods. Is that fair? Is that kind of what you were using before you and I worked together?
I will agree with that. Yeah, I will agree with that. That is the right terminology, yes.
Okay, and me too, right? I was using the same thing. And then when you and I started working together, what were some of the big changes that you made, either from a mindset perspective, actions, or your skills that allowed you to go out there and start listing 2 homes per month in a very competitive market, by the way, in Miami?
Yeah. So what got me, so it was a long process.
Yes.
All right. So I was about 7 months just doing the videos that that you put out there, but I was part of the program. I just didn't join the calls.
Okay.
The reason why I did that was, from my perspective, I just wanted to know how far I could take it myself.
Yeah. Okay.
And after I took it farther enough, or where I saw that I couldn't get to point B, then reach out to you. And I did that in January.
Got
and
it.
that changed my business like 120%, because from March, when I first started kind of going through your videos and the coaching itself, through December, I only had 3 listings. 2 of them were super overpriced, and I didn't have the skills to make the seller go down on their pricing without being confrontational.
That's right.
Right? So after I joined, on that first month, I got 3 listings. On that first, and it was the first call that you said something about how to manage like the sale. I actually asked you something, and you gave me the exact and precise tip that provided me that I guess that skill or that knowledge in order to list 3 properties on that first month.
Well, what did you do? I mean, because everyone's watching this, they always get mad at me if I don't go deep and I just leave it there. You went from, how many listings did you say from January to March? You said you got 1 listing or no listing?
I got from March to December 3 listings.
All right, so March to December you got 3, and then you joined.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
2 of them were overpriced. I was doing the program in itself, but I wasn't getting your coaching.
Yeah. So when you joined coaching, you got 3 listings in 1 month.
Yes.
So something drastic happened. So what was the big difference?
Well, the in-depth knowledge that you give us in regards to how to proceed with managing the
expectations
sale.
And
correct, and how to be better at this reverse selling strategy, right? And also stop being afraid. I will say maybe afraid of also pushing a little bit.
Yeah.
Or not pushing, but being more assertive.
That's right. That's right.
The word that has to be used. Being more assertive with what we want as well. Because
right.
as agents, we are here in the business of helping people, but also we need to, we need to make a living out of it.
That's right.
Go ahead.
So what I'm hearing you say, Alex, is because what I try to train is this: taking an approach that some people think is very high pressure, very pushy, putting that in a format that allows us to communicate with prospective sellers in a way that is non-threatening, that is much more consultative, that is question-based. And so when we start asking questions, some people call it the Socratic method. The sellers start to say, wow, I mean, this is a great way of communication, because all we keep doing is asking questions to lead the seller to the right answer. As an example of that, I think what you're saying, around overpricing properties, one of the things that we talk about a lot is, if we got into a little role play, is when we take a listing at X price, we use this strategy. We say, Alex, 1 of 3 things can occur at this price. And we start to walk them through. The first thing that can occur based on the marketplace, every house that goes up for sale in your market is selling an average of 22 days or 60 days or whatever the average days on market is. You and I should experience the exact same thing. And we should get lots of showings, lots of offers within the first couple of weeks of hitting the market. If that doesn't happen, the second thing that can occur is we get all of the showings, we get all of the traffic, and if we get no offers, Alex, what do you think the marketplace is telling us? And we get the seller to tell us that the price is too high, too low, whatever. And so we use that type of strategy. That's what you're talking about here as far as the difference.
Right. So yesterday I had a listing appointment. All right. So I had this listing appointment with a gentleman where I have another listing. And when I went there, it was really, really interesting because he had bought 1 property in that same building, but he didn't bought it. It wasn't on the market. He just went into the home, and once he walked into it, he was like, you know what? I love this place. All right. And then I asked him, who set the price there? Right.
That's right.
And the owner did. So I transitioned to what you're saying. If the property doesn't have many days in the market, the seller is the one who has all the leverage in regards to the price.
That's right.
After that bridge of the average days in the market is crossed, the tables turn. The tables are completely turned, and the buyer has way more leverage in negotiating.
So now you're communicating to your clients the vital importance around timing or days on market. And that's what we spend a lot of time on in our program. So very, very cool. So let me ask you this. Let me transition a little bit. So now I think you're saying you're at a point where you're getting listings on a consistent basis. You're getting 2 listings a month. What would you say to somebody that's new to real estate or not from sales that is just starting out prospecting? What advice would you give them? Because they've got a lot of fear. They have no confidence. You know, they're very, very fearful of the phone and rejection. What advice would you give to somebody prospecting for the first time?
Well, I guess the first thing that I will recommend is practice.
Yeah.
And it's something that is highly recommended on your program. Find a role play partner. I believe that as weird as it sounds, sometimes it's harder, or at least it is for me, to role play with somebody else that already knows what should come.
Right.
Because they're holding you accountable to your timing, to the way that you say things, and that in itself gives you a great advantage when you are out there just making calls. And the other thing is just make the calls.
That's right.
Tons of calls. So tons of calls. Put that triple dialer in and just let that thing burn the phones, basically, because practice is the only way that one person is going to transition from point A to from point B. There is no easy way around that. There's no way around.
Let me ask you this. So I work with so many real estate agents and so many different levels, brand new agents, experienced agents. And this business, Alex, is so simple, not easy, but it's very simple business. All an agent has to do is either prospect or go on appointments. I mean, that's really, when you break it down, like those are the 2 things that's going to drive a real estate agent's business forward. Why do agents struggle so bad to succeed in this business when those are the only 2 things they got to do? I mean, in your opinion, why is it so difficult for people just to do those 2 things?
It's not so easy to be consistent.
That's right.
It's not so easy to be consistent. And I believe that everybody has their own method of accomplishing their goals and way of working. So for me, I tried to follow make 25 calls per day in order to hit my goals. But I found that doesn't work for me. Yeah. I can hit the phones on one day, call 50 people. Like my goal, I do it on a weekly basis.
Got it. Okay, good.
Okay? I do it on a weekly basis. And the way that I ended up approaching it is that there are times when I'm booked with listing appointments, or I have to be going and doing the stuff, because as agents, we do a lot of things.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. So what worked for me was I do my newly calls from 8 to 10. That is of course I do that, but I don't have a set of what is my maximum amount of calls that I need to reach a day, because that is, from my point of view, that actually holds me down instead of pushes me forward. And I learned that basically 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I didn't know that. And I learned it 3 weeks ago, and now my goal was 125. Now I'm calling like 200 per week, just because I learned a little detail about myself.
That is great advice. So what you're saying is every day, Monday through Friday, you're calling the fresh leads, right? Maybe that takes 30 minutes, an hour, that you do that. But one day per week, you're going to focus on making a lot of contacts one day a week, instead of trying to stretch yourself to do a bunch of contacts every day. Is that right?
Something like that. Or sometimes if I don't have anything on my schedule, I call. I make sometimes 60 calls, 60 contacts, which is different from calls, just for people that are new here. Contacts is actually people that answer the phone. And maybe I call 500 people, but only 70 of them picked up the phone. So yeah, I'm kind of at that point where I try to push myself, I guess, as hard as I can the days that I can do that and focus on that. But obviously, I daily follow what your suggestion on how to proceed with new leads, because they're really important to be the first voice. That's a given.
Right.
That's a given.
So that's great. That's really good advice. I really like that. There's some other agents that I've talked to that kind of do that same thing. They prospect every Monday. They call it money making Monday, where every day, all day Monday, all they do is prospect for 6 to 7, 8 hours. And then the rest of the week, they're going on appointments. And so it's great. I like that. What lead sources are you focused on now?
So I'm focusing on for sale by owners for sure. And honestly, I just started to do for rent by owners.
Yes.
I love that lead. I love it.
I told you would.
It's so easy. It's so easy. At least to get the conversation going is super easy. I haven't yet listed one, but the amount of feedback that I have gotten, if I feel that sooner or later I'm gonna start listing this. And something else, Brandon, I believe that now I'm sort of reaping the fruit of whatever I did 3 months ago.
That's right.
Yeah, so we need to keep that in mind.
So let's talk about that. That's another really good piece of advice that, Alex, I have such a heart. I just made a video today on my YouTube channel talking about that piece. The 90-day cycles, the 6-month cycles, that all the work that we do today, most people are used to getting paid for their time every Friday, getting a paycheck.
Right.
Well, in real estate, what you're saying is the work that you do now, today, does not show any fruits until 90 days, 180 days later. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's right. And you're getting a paycheck. The work that you did today, you're getting a paycheck probably, 6 months.
That's right. And that's what most...
That's hard. That's hard to... That's hard. It's hard.
The thing is, though, if an agent can get through that 6-month period and then stay consistent, they're fine forever. But then what happens is they're ups and downs with activity. And every time a real estate agent stops prospecting, they push their business out another 6 months.
Yes.
And that's the problem. And that's why so many agents leave the business, because they do all the work because they're hungry, because they have no business, they have no money. So they work really, 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 really hard. They get a bunch of listings. They stop prospecting to close those listings, and then they have to constantly start over again, constantly. And so tell me about your experience with that.
And I point to that, and I wish now that I had joined that I had joined your phone calls earlier. And I didn't do it because I am really timid when it comes to groups. It's weird.
Absolutely.
So I didn't join at that point in time. However, when you're beginning, you're so hungry. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I used to go to so many preview appointments that, I my hand 5, 7 sometimes. I was able to make those preview appointments really consistent. Yeah. But I wasn't being as assertive as I am now. So my calls now are shorter. Yes. But they're really to the point, and I get to know who is worth following up with, who is not, because that's also right. Knowing not to do is also very beneficial for the agent. Absolutely. That experience, I guess, that is getting through time.
So let's end with this. I think the people would really, really appreciate this. do you mind doing a little, telling us, a little role play on what you say with for sale by owners? Like, because I'm with you now. Where I'm at my business, I can't go on all those preview appointments that I recommend a lot of newer agents go on. So
Right.
my conversations are very short, and I ask just a couple questions to determine, do I have a lead or do I not? And so I'm curious to see, what are you saying on your for sale by owner calls to determine that?
Well, Brandon, I honestly just do 2.0.
Love it.
That's it. I don't change anything of your script. I'm going with it, and I have been going with it for a while. Now that I jump into for rent by owners, the only question that I really ask is, will you maybe consider, if you find an offer that makes sense, will you then maybe consider the option of getting it sold, as long as it makes sense for you and your family?
Love it.
If they you start then, depending on the conversation, but then you start kind of nipping on that and going.
So that's what's so interesting, is that I've really boiled it down to these calls on one question.
Yes.
That's it. Expired, there's one question. Absentee owners, one question. For rent by owner, one question. For sale by owner, one question. And on for sale by owners, that one question is this: Alex, let me ask you, before we do anything, if you cannot sell your property on your own in the next 30, 60, 90 days, would you then at that point consider interviewing me for the job of getting your property sold? It's a very simple question.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. And they're going to say yes, no, maybe so, and then you can take the conversation from that point in time. But I think, to your point earlier, we have to be more assertive, more intentional with our conversations to determine where to spend our time.
Yes, and not keep conversation just going,
Right.
even though you know that it is not a good lead.
That's right.
Something that I would recommend new agents.
Please.
I mean, just instead of just doing the videos, join the conference calls all the time, because there is where you find the ways to actually proceed with your business. I didn't do that, and I think that I burned myself a little bit too much at the beginning. It was, again, 7 months without getting traction on my listings. I did a lot of work, and because of that, I actually got a listing not too long ago from somebody that I contacted back in May of last year. So, which is to your point. But then there are, how should we call it? There are certain walls that you don't know how to break, and it is worth having somebody that tells you how to go around them, maybe.
Yeah.
Because there are little tips that, for myself, allow me to. The first time that I joined your call, I listed 3 properties that same month.
Yeah. Well, and now I don't even know if you know this, because you've been in our program for a little while. We're doing 2 calls every week. So we do Tuesdays. We work on skills, role play practice, where I am your role play partner. And then in addition to our Thursday coaching calls. And so I would agree with you. I mean, I don't want this to sound like a sales pitch, but like even me, like I have to have a coach in my life to bounce things off of constantly, because success is very simple. Go find somebody that's already done what you've done and ask them how to do it. That's it.
Definitely, yes.
That's all you got to do. So what last pieces of advice would you give people watching this interview, on your experience working with me or your experience as a listing agent? What advice would you give?
Have blind faith in the program.
Yeah.
Blind faith.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
Yeah. Yes, it is really, really, really hard, because we don't know each other personally.
Right.
We know each other this way, so it's a little bit hard to trust somebody that you don't really know.
That's right.
However, I think that what you do and what your program does, and you have shown, is that you really take care of the people that are kind of with you, and you have been doing that for I don't know how many years. So I appreciate it. I'm really, really lucky to have found you. To be honest with you, I thank you.
No problem. And I appreciate you too. And so what does the future look like for you? What are your future goals, and what do you have in store for your business moving forward?
Right. So right now I want to be more consistent on getting higher price listings.
Yeah.
I think that I was not going through. I was getting listings that that didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I want to focus on those listings that really you get the money, but you do the same work.
That's right.
So might as well just go for them. And then after this, hopefully you start investing in real estate. Let's see what happens with the economy. But hey, that is none of my business. I just have to do my work.
That's right. Well, Alex, thank you so much, buddy. I think that you have a great future ahead of you. We'll continue to work together, and I'm excited to have a front seat and watch your career grow, because I think somebody with your talent and your work ethic and your discipline, I think that you can build a nice listing-based business, and that's what we're all here to do. So, Alex, thank you so much, buddy. We'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Thank you. You take care, Brandon. Nice talking to you.
You too, Alex. Bye now.